After 6 years of traveling the world and after working with hundreds of women in live workshops and one-on-one mentoring from so many different cultures, I have found one common thing that almost all women struggle with. And this is relationships. We just can't seem to attract the right men into our lives, and instead we stay stuck on the same patterns with the same kind of men. But let me tell you, it doesn't have to be this way. You are worthy of healthy love. You are deserving. And yes, even if it sometimes doesn't feel like it on the outside when men disrespect you and not value you, you are a worthy woman. And there are truly good-hearted men out there. And I know this because I've been in a relationship with a man like this for 3 years after I attracted really unhealthy relationships. But why was it that I was so stuck in this toxic relationship? Why did I not feel good enough? And why, in general, are so many women dimming their light? Why are so many women disconnected from their power? And the answer is daddy issues, aka the father wound. And the father wound plays into all areas of your life. It plays into romantic relationships, into platonic relationships, plays into your job and how you show up in the world, your self-worth, mental health issues, depression, you name it. So if this resonates with you, comment free guide down below. I have a free father wound guide where I guide you through an inner child meditation, where I give you journal prompts so you can look into the relationship you have with your dad so that you can start healing this wound. There's a beautiful saying that says you will always choose a familiar hell over an unfamiliar heaven, because your nervous system, if you grew up with a dad that didn't treat you well, your nervous system is not used to healthy love. Your nervous system is used to emotional stress, to survival mode. And so that's what you will be choosing in your life. You will choose this familiar hell over and over and over again because your body doesn't know the unfamiliar heaven, which would be a healthy relationship. So now the question may arise, how is the father wound created? Like, what happened in childhood that this wound was created? And the first one is emotional neglect. So my dad, for example, did emotionally not support me at all. Like, he mostly didn't know much about me. He didn't know my age many times. He didn't know what class I was going to. He was just emotionally not available to me. He was also working a lot. And overall, my mom was doing all the caretaking and my dad was just not there. And if he was usually very, very angry, had a very short fuse, and would punish me for many things. And so emotional neglect is one of the main reasons why the father wound is created. And if that happened to you, then chances are that as a little girl, because there was no emotional connection to your father, that later on, or even already as a child, you would feel emotionally disconnected from yourself because you felt disconnected from your father. And so this lack of emotional support and nurturing environment leads you later on, or maybe even already as a child, very disconnected from your own emotions, and it leads to low self-worth because you feel like you're not worthy of being emotionally nurtured. This can also lead to not respecting yourself because your father didn't respect you, not respecting your own boundaries because your father didn't respect your boundaries. That was a very big one for me. And so later in life, we are in relationships where our boundaries are not respected, where we are not respected in general, because all of this is reflecting the relationship we had with our father. This can also lead to suppressing your emotions later in life because you weren't taught how to process emotion or how to even express them. Because example, for me, when I would express emotions like anger, sadness, even joy, I would get shut down very quickly. So I learned to suppress my emotions, and later on it was very hard for me to know what my emotions actually were. So I was very disconnected from myself, and this later in relationships can actually cause difficulties communicating and like a lot of frustration because these emotions are bottled up and then they shoot out in these moments of triggering, and then maybe we get all of a sudden really angry, we don't know where it's coming from, or we get really sad or really depressed or really anything, and we don't know where it's coming from because these emotions are still bottled up within ourselves and they splash over basically in a moment of emotional trigger. And also, of course, if your father was emotionally neglecting, then you have a fear of abandonment most likely, and that was definitely the case for me, which made me once on one side it made me anxious in relationships, and on the other side it made me avoidant. So I played out both scenarios, and the anxiousness was really like when I felt like my partner was leaving me or something, it felt like dying. It literally felt like I would die. That is how crazy my body reacted to abandonment because of my childhood, and it just came out later in the relationships, and I wasn't aware of it at all until I noticed these patterns in myself and then started healing, yada yada yada. So if emotional neglect was happening in your childhood, then later on you are either very clingy and you're clinging onto your partner and you're having this really deep anxiety and this bodily reaction of please don't leave me kind of thing. It makes us chase love and all these kind of things. It makes us chase men that treat us like shit. And on the other side, it can also make you withdraw. So it depends on what kind of child you were. You can have either or you can have both. And it makes you withdraw in critical situations and relationships. So my love, if this is something that resonates with you, if you want to heal the father wound so you don't have to struggle in your relationships anymore, if you want to take a close look at your wounds, then I invite you to comment free guide down below, and I will send you a free guide around the father wound so you can start healing. So now if you want to know how to attract a healthy partner into your life, watch this video where I break down exactly how I attracted my very healthy relationship with a man who deeply loves me, is caring for me, and is just amazing after I attracted a bunch of not healthy men. So if you want to learn more about that, check out this video.